Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. It's Tuesday, October the 7th, and it's a pretty dark and dismal morning where I am. Hopefully, wherever you are, it's nicer weather. I'm going to be heading out on a tractor fairly soon, do a few sort of yard cleanup jobs and whatever. But I thought I would make this video before I did so. And it's another one in the series that I've been doing where I focus on individual sort of demographics. We did some that were based in religion, for example, the top Jewish boxers, Muslim boxers, Christian boxers, some geographical areas, Ireland, Wales, etc. We spoke about the traveler community and the rich history that travelers have in the sport of boxing. And so today we're going to do something a little different, but along the same lines. We're going to look at some famous Southpaw boxers. Now, a Southpaw, as you know, is a person who leads with their right hand and their right foot forward, and that's the opposite of the orthodox stance. Sometimes Southpaws are thought of as being tricky. Because there are fewer of them, there's often less opportunity for an orthodox fighter to train with a southpaw and to train as to how to neutralize a southpaw. I'm obviously will miss some famous southpaws in this, just like I've missed some famous fighters in each of the other demographics. So this isn't like the most famous, it's a selection, right? And let's start off with a current active southpaw who's achieved everything there is to achieve in boxing. The present undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. Olympic gold medalist 2012, undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight, twice undisputed heavyweight champion. He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice, beat Daniel Dubois twice, beat Tyson Fury twice. As the expression goes, he's completed boxing. If he was to retire today, nobody would say, oh, well, he's left something on the table. Considered one of the best technicians of this era, it's no doubt that Alexander Usyk is going to go down in history as a modern day great, and depending upon what metrics future historians use, he might well qualify as an all-time great. Totally depends upon the metrics you use, of course, when you do these all-time great kind of things. So Alexander Usyk is the present heavyweight champion of the world who's a southpaw, and the first southpaw heavyweight champion of the world was none other than Michael Moorer. Now, Michael Moorer, who's often remembered not for his victories, of which there were many. Michael Moorer was a very good fighter, but because of the fact that he was stopped by Big George Foreman, who 20 years after relinquishing the title in 74, won it back in 94 at the age of 45 years of age by stopping Michael Moorer. And so it's kind of unfortunate in a way that Michael Moorer is often remembered for that loss rather than for his victories. But Michael Moorer was the first southpaw heavyweight champion of the world. Moving on, Manny Pacquiao, another southpaw. Manny is the only 8-division world champion in boxing history. Defeated people like Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Keith Thurman. Of course, we spoke about Manny and Usyk in our famous Christian boxers, and I have been trying not to have too much repetition, but sometimes it's unavoidable. Now, Manny, of course, known for explosive speed, southpaw angles, knockout power, one of sport's biggest stars, probably transcended boxing, certainly in Asia, absolutely, and still active. Made a comeback, and still lacing up the gloves. Moving on, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker sadly passed away, born 64, passed away in 2019. Olympic gold medalist, 1984. World champion in 4 weight divisions. Famous for defensive mastery, very slick southpaw movement, and possessed of great ring IQ. I think it's fair to say that Sweet Pea would be considered to be one of the most famous defensive masters in boxing history. And you know, it's not only left-handers that box southpaw. Sometimes a right-hander will box southpaw, and sometimes a natural left-hander will box orthodox. Little bit of trivia for pub quiz night is that Henry Cooper boxed orthodox, so he led with his left hand, but his left hand was also his power hand. He was naturally left-handed, so Henry's hammer came with the full power of a dominant hand. Just a little kind of trivia there for, you know, when you next want to bet $5 with one of your sports buddies. Another very famous southpaw, of course, and one of my favorite fighters from all time, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And of course, Marvelous Marvin Hagler had his legal name changed to incorporate the word marvelous. So when we say Marvelous Marvin Hagler, we're not just using it as an adjective to describe how wonderful he was, but that is actually his proper name. Hagler was born in 54, sadly passed away in 2015. It's hard to imagine he's been gone for so many years. Undisputed middleweight champion from 1980 to 87, a long reign. Defended the title 12 times, defeated Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, John Mugabe, amongst others. He sometimes switched stances. He did a little of the Terence Crawford thing happening there. Hagler was a natural southpaw who used the stance to devastating effect, known for grit, toughness, power. And since we've mentioned Terence Crawford, let's stick with Terence Crawford. Again, somebody who can switch hits, boxes both stances. But Terence Crawford, of course, now has achieved titles in a number of divisions and is the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, having recently beaten Canelo Alvarez in I think it was you could say a perfect display of boxing. Terence Crawford still active. Lots of questions about what he will do. Will he go back to 160 and pick up a title there? Who knows? He can do whatever he wants to now, I guess, right? Another fighter, southpaw, Hector Macho Camacho, born in 62, passed away in 2012. Superstar from Puerto Rico. 3-division world champion, super featherweight, lightweight, light welter. Very flashy, great hand speed, really hard to hit. Defeated Roberto Duran, beat Sugar Ray Leonard. To be fair, those guys were towards the latter part of their careers. There was a Mexican southpaw who was the featherweight champion of the 1960s, Vicente Salvador, born in 43, passed in 85. Defeated Sugar Ramos and Howard Winstone, famous for stamina, relentless pressure, high volume attack. And he's still celebrated as one of Mexico's greatest champions. The Mexican people, of course, are absolutely fully supportive of their many great champions, including Canelo, of course, as we were talking about a few moments ago, who was beaten recently by Terence Crawford. Brain freeze for a second there. An Argentine middleweight champion, Sergio Maravilla Martinez, still with us, born in 75. Defeated Kelly Pavlik and Paul Williams. That got the 2010 KO of the year. Athleticism, again, awkward southpaw angles. Like I say, a lot of fighters, they won't devote that much time to training against southpaws because the chances of meeting southpaws aren't that high, right? And so if you're an orthodox boxer, you've only got so many days to train, and you're training against a southpaw on the off chance you will meet one isn't necessarily something you're going to do. Whereas the southpaw will train almost comprehensively against orthodox fighters because that's what they're mostly going to run into. And again, it's another reason why the southpaw often has an advantage over the orthodox fighter when they meet, because the southpaw has trained for the orthodox fighter, and the orthodox fighter might have trained for this particular fight, but doesn't have that body of experience to fall back on, having fought against southpaws their entire life. And last, but by no means least, I'm trying to keep this to like a 10-minute video. Joe Calzaghe, born in 1972, recently elected as one of Britain's greatest boxer ever, depending upon, of course, the survey. I'm not suggesting that he is, but certainly kudos to him for winning that most recent accolade. A legend in Wales, retired undefeated, 46-0, former super middleweight champion. Wins over Chris Eubank, Jeff Lacey, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr. That southpaw stance and that volume punching made it very, very difficult to master him. And, well, during his professional career, nobody did. So there you have it. Some of the greatest southpaw fighters in boxing history, from Usyk, who's today's torchbearer, to Manny Pacquiao's explosive reign, Hagler's dominance, Calzaghe's unbeaten record. These fighters show just how effective a southpaw boxer can be. So if you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let me know in the comments who your favorite southpaw is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye-bye.